welcome to another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm your host, Karen Yankovich, and I'm here every week with you to talk about ways that you can take control of your destiny. I want there to be more wealthy women in the world, and that's what this show stands for. And in this week's episode, I want to talk about a version of success that looks really, really good on the outside, right? Consistent posting, always visible, always on. And if we're being honest, a little exhausting to watch, right? Because behind the scenes, we know what's going on behind the scenes, right? Late nights, pushing through when you're depleted, showing up when your brain is like, I got nothing today, right? But I got to show up. And somewhere along the way, us women, especially high achieving women, we were taught if you want to stay relevant, you have to stay visible. And if you want to stay visible, you have to stay consistent. But we never really stopped to define what consistency actually means. So we made it mean constant, right? And those are not the same thing. So today I want to introduce you to a new kind of consistency because I do think consistency is important. But this is one that doesn't require you to like turn into Gary Vaynerchuk. No disrespect to Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a massively successful guy. He's just not the guy that I model when I want to grow my business, right? Because I don't want it to override my life. I want my business to support my life. And, so we've kind of been sold on a model that doesn't match how authority actually works, right? Like so many people that talk about like post everyday advice comes from influencer marketing culture, platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where like recency equals reach. And there is a place for that, right? There's a place for that. It's not a strategy that I employ because for me, that's not where the high ticket clients are. I do use those platforms. You'll see a lot. We were doing a lot on Instagram. I'm doing a lot on Threads lately. A lot of it's scheduled. I jump in and try to be as engaging as I can on these platforms, but I have a team now, right? And they help me with these things. LinkedIn is fundamentally different. I just brought somebody new onto my team this week. And first thing I said to her is, yeah, nobody logs into my LinkedIn but me. Because if I am messaging you on LinkedIn, it's me. Every single thing you see on LinkedIn is me. And it's fundamentally a different platform because not only is it where influencers live, right? And I mean real influencers, that people that make buying decisions. It's a search-based credibility platform, not just like a content feed. A couple geeky statistics. LinkedIn has over 1 billion users globally, and it's mostly used for professional discovery and vetting. I want somebody to buy my high ticket package, my $25K or $200K consulting package. I'm going to get vetted, right? I want to be discovered. This happens on LinkedIn, right? And there's a LinkedIn marketing solution statistic that says that 4 to 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions. 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions. So people on LinkedIn are not just scrolling. They're not there for entertainment. They're researching you. They're looking to network. They're looking to find people that can help them accomplish like what their next goals are. So yes, we like visibility around here, but visibility and consistency are more important on LinkedIn than the posting frequency, right? Your authority is more important than your volume, and consistency is more important than daily output. Because here's what I think. Here's what I know. Your next client is more likely to read your profile than your last 10 posts. So if somebody checked you out on LinkedIn today, what are they going to find? If they Googled you today, what are they going to find? Does your LinkedIn profile close that gap between who you are and who you're stepping into and what you want next, right? These are things that you can do with your profile. So you've got to take this action. And, I have consistently shown up with this podcast. This is episode, I think, 361, right? So we've been doing this for a long time. But it's not always easy to get this out consistently. So I want to remove some shame here, because if there's a week that an episode that doesn't go out, that's okay, right? Because the problem that you have when you're like, so I guess what I'm talking about here is when life gets busy, sometimes visibility collapses. And I've had a lot of crazy stuff going on in my life the last couple of years, like a lot of crazy stuff to the point where I've completely revamped my business to accommodate it, which I'm so lucky I get to do, right? If I had a paycheck job, I wouldn't get to do that. We had a whole conversation about this in the Visibility Salon on our strategy call this month because we were talking about how lucky we are as entrepreneurs that we get to create businesses around our life. But sometimes there's shame when your visibility starts to collapse when life gets busy. And when that happens, it means that you're focusing too much on your performance and your energy and your mood and your time availability instead of your systems and your assets and your positioning. Does that make sense? And you're building like a content only ecosystem. If you don't post, nobody sees you, right? And if nobody sees you, then you don't get any momentum. And what this leads to is this like boom and bust stuff, right? So I believe, and I know I've seen this personally in my own business, personally with many of my clients, and personally with many of my colleagues. Content marketing is burnout. Content marketing burnout is rising. Okay. And that's especially among solopreneurs and small business owners. And actually, HubSpot came out with a marketing report a year or so ago that talked about this, that talked about the fact that content marketing burnout is rising. And what happens then, especially with AI, we just start to throw out crap that just for the sake of throwing out crap. And who does that serve? That doesn't serve any of us, right? We need to have our authority assets working for us. And our authority assets are things like press features, podcast interviews. Like you can, like if you do 4 podcast interviews, let's say in February, they're going to get released over the next few months. So if in April you have like a moment where you just have to step back, those podcast interviews are still going out because you did them in February, right? Case studies, searchable credibility. When people search for the kinds of things that you do, are you coming up? You know, podcast interviews are a big part of the work that we do in the Visibility Salon because what happens is it becomes a part of your authority asset, right? When somebody throws your name into a search bar and pages come up, and these are all podcasts you've been interviewed on, that is an authority asset that gives you credibility even when you're not working, right? So it's important that there's an engine happening for those authority assets when you are in a good space, so that when you have a moment that life gets lifey, right? You can step back and things are still moving. Okay. You know, we're conditioned as women to over deliver and then disappear. How many people, like, I feel like I want you to raise your hand if that's you, right? Or we need to earn visibility instead of owning our visibility, right? Or if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all, right? So what that means is, I don't believe that makes you inconsistent or that something that you should be ashamed of, because I feel like you've been using a model that requires you to be superhuman. And like, we're not superhuman. We are human. We are human beings. And I want you to be human. And I want you to be human building a business that's filled with ease and that fits around your life, because life gets lifey, right? So now I'm going to give you a system, and actually you can download this system if you go to KarenYankovich.com/361download. You can download this, but I'm going to run through it so that you can see it, because I'm going to give you something that I believe is doable and powerful, and maybe even just like a little elegant, because that's what we want around here. We want to elevate our brands, because that's, people buy from people they feel they can trust, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you like just a simple 5-day LinkedIn and PR rhythm. Simple. All right. If you have a pen and you're sitting somewhere, you can write this down. Great. If not, don't worry about it. You can go to KarenYankovich.com/361download and download this. On Monday, I want you to just align your authority. Take 15 to 20 minutes to do this. Okay. This is not about creating content today. This is about reviewing your LinkedIn profile. Does your headline reflect your current authority? Does your about section speak to who you now serve? Right? Maybe update your featured section, add your latest podcast. Maybe you were interviewed on somebody's show. Maybe you were quoted in an article, or you have a new offer, right? Put something new in your featured section, update it, keep that fresh. And then send 2 intentional messages, right? Saw this and thought of you, right? Or loved your recent post, but intentional, right? Like to people you know, maybe they're clients, maybe they're prospects, maybe they're colleagues, right? I got a message from a colleague today that she invited me to something, and I first saw it and I was like, oh, I bet this was just like she sent this out to everybody in the New York City area. And then I responded and said, I really can't do this, but so good to hear from you. And then she responded right back. And we had like a quick little conversation. I was like, by the way, I'm going to be thinking about you. Congratulations on all of this. And, now we have a lunch date scheduled. Right. And it was basically because I sent her, I was responding to her message, but I intentionally responded back and engaged a conversation. Right. And so this Monday authority alignment that we're doing, these are tasks that we're doing, but here's what's behind these tasks. What I know from LinkedIn data is that profiles with complete information get up to 40 times more opportunities. So finish your freaking LinkedIn profile, please. All right, Tuesday, moving on. 30 minutes max on Tuesday, strategic content. Okay. The goal here is to be precise, not to just pump out a bunch of crap. So create some content. Maybe I like to be a little bit disruptive with my content, like maybe unpopular opinion or something like that. Or maybe even share a personal story with some kind of an authority lesson. Maybe some kind of pattern recognition. Here's what I'm seeing with my clients right now, right? Just post it on Tuesday, maybe create another post for later in the week and schedule it right in the LinkedIn, on the LinkedIn app, or right in the LinkedIn, feed on the browser. You can schedule it right in there. Do not overcomplicate this. Okay. Because again, the action is to create the content, but the behind the action is what we know is that posts that share expertise and insights outperform generic engagement posts in these B2B spaces. Okay. So we want to be sharing our expertise and insights and not just be looking for engagement. We want to share our genius. Okay. Moving on to Wednesday. This is like the sleeper strategy. If you can only do one thing on LinkedIn this week, this is what I want you to do. Comment on other people's posts, because this is what's going to get you. Remember I said to you earlier that I truly believe that if people are going to see one thing, it's going to be your profile, not all your posts. Well, if you're commenting on other people's content, then people that don't know you yet are going to start to see your name. And what are they going to do? They're going to click on your name to see your profile. They're not necessarily going to be looking at your content. Maybe they'll go on to look at that, but first they're going to be looking at your profile, right? So comment on 5 to 10 posts. Add some perspective. Please don't just say nice post, right? Say, love you talked about this, but have you thought about, I like to even add this. Maybe share some micro stories. Maybe you disagree, which I love when people disagree on my post, not arguing with me, although I'm always up for a good debate, but thoughtfully disagree. Say, I hear you, Karen, but here's what I find. If I do this instead of that, then blah, 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 right? So on Wednesday, your mini action is just to comment 15, 20 minutes. And honestly, I often do it sitting on my couch in the morning with my phone, with my coffee, right? Like sometimes that's when I get it in, and it can be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And again, your next client might never see that post, but maybe they'll be brought to you by a comment on someone else's post. And I can tell you, I have absolutely signed on new clients with that strategy. I can think of a couple in my head right now. I've absolutely done that. My clients have done that. I mean, I can't promise you. I wish 1 + 1 = 2 here. But I know that if you do this, you're going to get your profile in front of other people. And that's the goal, right? Is to build out your network thoughtfully and intentionally full of people that can further your business in a big, fat, juicy, I want to make more money way, right? Okay. Thursday, we've got a little bit of a PR or kind of authority move. Okay. And again, no more than a half hour, 15 minutes to a half hour. Maybe connect with your favorite podcast host that you think you would be a good guest for and pitch yourself to them. Right. I would probably share an episode and then maybe DM them and say, hey, I don't know if you saw this episode that I shared a link to your episode. I loved your conversation, Mary, about this, or I love that you talk about this. I have a perspective on that. That might be a really good conversation to have on your show. Like make it like personalized and make them know that you have researched this. Just one podcast. Or maybe you want to submit yourself to a media request. Do you get like Quoted or Harrow style platforms, right? Like submit yourself to one of those. Maybe write an article for LinkedIn or update one of your testimonials or case studies, right? Earned media meaning other people that feature you build significantly higher trust than self-published content. We want to publish our own content, right? But when other people share our stuff, right? Like you were interviewed on somebody else's podcast, you get to borrow the authority of the host of that show, of that podcast. If somebody, if you pitch Harrow and you get quoted in an article, you borrow the authority of the publication that is writing that you're contributing to. Does that make sense? All right. And Friday, simple and optional, a low lift day. It's Friday. Celebrate a client, reshare an insight, share some behind the scenes, just do something light and fun. Okay. Here's what I want you to know about this. If you do 2 of these things in a week, you are still consistent. Consistent, not constant. So KarenYankovich.com/361 download. Pull this, print it, leave it next to your computer, and just do at least 2 of these things in a week. All right, moving on. Now I want to kind of elevate this a little bit because we've set the foundation. Okay. I want to elevate this strategy. I want to elevate your wealth thinking. I want you to be thinking like $1 million business owner. Okay. In your LinkedIn profile, I want you to look at it again and remember that this is your conversion hub. I want you to make sure it's got keywords in the headline. So when people are searching for money mindset coach speaker, all those things are in your headline and you come up and you get that gig, right? Because one good speaking gig could get you 10 or 15 new clients, right? Clear positioning. You want to be known for one thing, not 50 things. All right. And proof. LinkedIn's got built-in opportunities to use their testimonials section. It's not what it's called. The name just escaped me. But to use the, LinkedIn testimonials, maybe that is it. Anyway, you want to get recommendations. That's the word, recommendations. You want to get your LinkedIn recommendations, right? LinkedIn recommendations. You want to have that in there because this is kind of giving people metrics and results for you. And that's what you want. And that's important stuff, right? Take a look at your featured section in your LinkedIn profile. Think of this kind of like your mini website, right? Like don't have 10 things in there because you're not, frankly, all that interesting. Nobody's reading 10 things about you, but they give me 1 or 2, maybe 3 things that I'm going to want to do. Like, oh, wait, I can like that. Those clients that saw me post on somebody else's LinkedIn profile and engage in conversation there and came to my profile, they became clients that same day because on my featured section, I had a book a call link. They booked a call, gave me their credit card, became a client. Okay. Check your Google presence. Throw your name in a Google search. Maybe even do it like in a stealth browser, in a secret browser. Look to see if you're coming up in podcasts and articles and interviews, right? Because I don't know about you, but I barely buy a pen without looking for reviews these days, right? And I'm not alone because 70% of people research professionals online before they make decisions. So even if they come up with your LinkedIn profile because they came across you because you engaged in somebody else's conversation, they're still going to then go throw your name in a search engine to see what else they can find out about you. Come up in those searches. Okay. Come up in those searches. This is how your visibility compounds. And this is how you create a process that doesn't reset every Monday, that you have to restart every Monday, right? This is how you build a consistent visibility strategy that brings you new clients, even if you personally have to disappear for a week or 2 or a month. All right. So I want to just kind of I want to address something. And as I'm saying, as these words are in my head, I'm second guessing myself. And this is what we do as women, or I do apparently. Because as I say things like you can disappear for a month, right? I immediately get triggered a little bit that maybe I'm getting lazy, right? What if ease was not laziness, but leadership? What if that spaciousness gave you the opportunity to create better decisions, to bring on better clients, right? And to grow bigger income, right? It's that spaciousness that allows us to do that. If you're in this constant hamster wheel, none of that's ever going to happen. So I want you to think for a minute about where you are forcing consistency now. And what would it look like to design it instead of forcing it? I want to just kind of leave you with this. There's nothing wrong if you've been inconsistent. There's nothing wrong with you if you've been inconsistent. There's nothing broken about your discipline. There's nothing, doesn't mean you're not ambitious or that you have no ability to follow through. You've just been trying to build a visibility process inside a model that was never designed for the way we actually live. This model rewards constant output over sustained authority, right? That model quietly assumes that you have unlimited time, unlimited energy, and no life outside of your work. And it burns us out and makes us feel less than every single time. And I'm so done with that, because women like you who care deeply about the work that you do, who have real expertise, who are building something meaningful, not just something visible, it's important that you build that consistency. So if you have looked like show up, push hard, disappear, feel bad about it, feel guilty, start all over again, I want you to understand and hear me when I say this cycle isn't failure. This is just your feedback. It's just showing you what you need, and it's not more discipline. It's better design. A design where your LinkedIn profile is doing the heavy lifting for you. A design where your credibility doesn't reset every single week, right? A design where your name is still being said in rooms, even when you're not actively showing up in the feed, because that is what real visibility looks like. It's not performative. It's not constant. It's definitely not exhausting, right? It's steady. It's strategic. It compounds over time. And most importantly, it supports the life you're actually trying to build. Not one where you're always on, right? But where your work has space to breathe, and so do you. So this week, I don't want you to try and do everything. I don't want you to promise yourself that you'll finally be consistent and you'll finally do all the things you've been saying you want to do. I just want you to choose a couple things. Download that 5-day strategy that you can keep next to your desk. And again, all you got to do is 2. Some weeks you might do 5. Some weeks you might do 2. And I want to just do 2 intentional moves on the other side of this podcast. One might be download the thing, and one additional one, something that makes you feel visible in a grounded way, not like a frantic, harried way, right? Maybe you're going to post one powerful post, or maybe you're going to take an update to your LinkedIn profile, like whatever it is. And then just let that be enough. Just let that be enough. And then understand that when you build visibility that way, you don't disappear when your life gets busy. You don't lose momentum when you take a breath, and you don't question your relevance every time you step away, because you're becoming someone whose presence lingers, right? Whose work speaks, whose name carries weight. And I know that's you. We just need the rest of the world to know that's you, even in the quiet weeks, right? And that's the kind of visibility that builds influence and income and legacy. So if you're ready to build that kind of visibility, the kind that works even when you don't, just know it's exactly what we do inside the Visibility Salon. We build LinkedIn profiles that open doors. We build PR systems that elevate your credibility. We build systems that let you step back without disappearing, because you were never meant to hustle for visibility. You were meant to be known. You can check it out at visibilitysalon.com. We have a free week trial. You can check us out, hang out with us for a week. But between now and then, take a breath, pick your 2 things. It'd be really great if one of them was joining us in the Visibility Salon. And know that I'll be here next week with another episode, and touch base with me on LinkedIn. Maybe make that one of your things this week too, right? Comment on one of my posts. Tag me in one of your posts. Again, if it's relevant, don't tag me in things that make no sense, but maybe share this episode, right? And tag me in it and say, and add your point of view, right? Because then I can share it. And this is how we start to build that visibility platform that shows up even when we don't.